Hello and welcome to Additive Insight, the original additive manufacturing podcast, and your source for news, interviews and comments on the latest 3D printing and AM intelligence. Brought to you by TCT Magazine. I'm your host, Sam Davis, and today I'm joined by Janet Dickinson, the Chief Operating Officer of Endeavour 3D. Founded in 2020, Endeavour 3D is a contract manufacturer that, through its use of AM, specialises in product design, prototyping and production. Enabling volume production with additive manufacturing technology is the company's core motivation, and throughout today's conversation, Dickinson explains what it takes to make that a reality. She provides insight on Endeavour's use of HP multi-jet fusion and Materialise's CO-AM technology, while also detailing the company's utilisation of data and analytics to build a robust manufacturing platform. Dickinson also shares her assessment of the current capabilities of AM and tells us what we can expect from Endeavour moving forward. If you like what you hear, don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. For more Additive Insight, head on over to tctmagazine.com, where you can subscribe to the print edition of TCT Magazine and our weekly Additive Insight newsletter for free. Janet, welcome to the Additive Insight podcast. We're going to talk about what it takes to go into production with additive manufacturing today. But before we get into that, can you provide some background on Endeavour 3D as a business? What would you say is the company's core motivation?
Oh, hi, Samuel, and thank you for having me on today. This is a great honor. I listen to you all the time. Endeavour 3D was founded by our CEO, Phil Arnold, in 2020 to continue the legacy of manufacturing in the U.S. based outside of Atlanta, Georgia. The first few years was a typical startup in revamping the facility while cutting our teeth in the additive world. This year marks our 5-year anniversary. We are now hitting our stride of reaching our goal of being a high volume manufacturer and in the process of delivering solutions to partners. This is proving to be successful to open up capacity.
Can you provide some context for the company's offerings? Endeavour is headquartered in Douglasville, Georgia, with a 65,000 square foot advanced manufacturing facility. So from that facility, what does Endeavour 3D do and what does it offer to its clients?
Our current primary offering is MJF. We offer a range of materials and post-processing options. With our partnerships and alliances with others, we can offer other technologies and finishes. And we believe AM is young in the bigger world of manufacturing. All of us in the AM industry must work together to build its place in applications and in manufacturing.
And the company, as you mentioned, was founded 5 years ago. And obviously you mentioned there that additive is a young technology. How would you reflect on the progress that Endeavour has made in those first 5 years of the company's lifespan?
I think it's been quite the journey. We started out just cutting our teeth on other technologies that didn't really fit what our core strength was going to be. So there were some bumps in the road, things we did, and a lot of lessons learned, a lot of good people that worked with us who have been part of our stories, who have now gone on to other parts of the community and are now still working in AM. So I do think that in the 5 years, we've learned a lot and had a lot of good support from the whole AM community.
While Endeavour carries prototyping and product design expertise, the company's goal is to support manufacturers in leveraging AM for production applications. Obviously, 3D printing started as a primarily and almost exclusively prototyping technology, and over the years has developed to be more suitable for production applications. What would you say are the kind of key requirements and best practices for a company like Endeavour to be able to use 3D printing for production applications successfully?
Well, Samuel, one of the things I think we need to focus on is listening to our clients, figuring out what they need in their business. It's different when you're working with someone who has a patient-specific type of an application who really requires a lot of testing and process approvals in the production line, to other people who are building drones who may completely have their products well defined.
Hmm.
And so they're a different type. They just want total production. But I do think that listening to your clients, and sometimes it's knowing exactly how they need to work is how we need to work.
Yeah. Can you provide some insight into the interactions you have with clients? You mentioned that obviously it's important to really listen to them. So how deep do those collaborations with clients go? What are some of the things that they are demanding of Endeavour and asking of uh, Endeavour? And I guess 3D printing technology, um, in general terms, what do they need from you to be able to do what they want to do?
Yeah, again, it's very client and application specific. So, for one example, working with someone who has patient specific, this is applications where they're scanning people's, um, legs or arms, and then they have a product that we need to print. And that's an ongoing production. So, that means we created a way for people to send us files, drop files, and have a quick turnaround on parts, and keep those patient specific parts separated throughout the production process to be able to provide back to the clinicians. That's a very detailed process that we do with several different patient specific companies. Then we have other people who are dropping, build box files where all they want to do is drop one 3MF file and then they want us to print that 70 times. So there's those types of customers that take a different type of route. And so in that case, we need to be able to provide to them the delivery schedule that they require. And not only the delivery requirements, but their packaging requirements. Most of the times when you're delivering large volume, the people on the other end want to know that their products are going to be packaged the same way each and every time, because when they get to that assembly line for assembly, they need to be consistent. And so consistency and knowing exactly what that customer needs is totally different than the patient specific person. So, I mean, it's really specific to listen to them and to be able to deliver specific application or the results that they need.
I understand that a focus on data and analytics has been pivotal to Endeavour 3D getting into production with AM and being able to help its clients get into production with AM. Can you provide some insight into what Endeavour has built and how it is using data to enhance its offering?
Well, with the data, I think that being able to combine the data from multiple systems, because we have information from HP through their platforms and then other information coming from COAM through Materialise, and
Hmm.
being able to take that data and blend it together through different apps and data polls, that you can actually start really seeing the true cost of what you're doing, the true effectiveness, and be able to tune in better. And HP, with their advanced parameter set in their 5600s, we utilize that and we're able to pull data and then in some cases create better prints for those customers based on what their demands are.
I wanted to dig a little deeper into the partnerships with HP and Materialise CoAM. We'll start with HP because I think they've pretty much been a key partner of Endeavour's since the beginning.
Yeah.
So why did Endeavour opt for HP and its jet fusion technology when it came to building out its additive manufacturing capacity? What was the key reason for that?
Well, part of it is the story of HP. I have a very heavy IT background, so I've known HP as long as everybody else has, from the time they started in the garage and forward. And knowing that they're always going to be there. In this technology field of AM, there's a lot of people who are coming up with technologies and then they fail and then they're gone. But we know that HP is going to be there for us. And we have a really strong partnership from the local people here in Georgia all the way to Barcelona.
Mhm.
And it's, I can't tell you how great it is when you show up at a trade show or you're at any of these great AM events and I run into the HP people and they're like old friends. And, we get to know each other personally just because we hang out a lot together. But then we also know that even in the toughest times, we have each other's backs. And that's what I think is very important.
Yeah, obviously, the kind of interpersonal relationships are important, and as you mentioned, the knowing there's a longevity to the to supplier is important. In terms of the capabilities of the technology, how has that stood up over the last 5 years? How would you assess what you've been able to, as a company, get out of those machines for what you need and for what your clients need?
Well, definitely MJF has created a true production process.
Hmm.
And so with that, we can create repeatable results and have the quality that we want to have. And even as we've brought on the newer technologies with HP, we started out with the 5200s and then moved into the white printer and then also now into the 5600s with automation. As they bring out different things, we're really ones who will go into that cutting edge with them. Just recently, as they bring out new materials like the FR materials and etc., we're there and they're helping us bring those out. And so again, it's a good partnership where as they do innovations, then we can be right alongside them. And that also just brings, again, getting us to that high volume approach where, you know, to have a technology that we can rely on.
Hmm. And in terms of the relationship, it obviously sounds like the collaboration between the companies goes beyond just kind of buy and sell machines. So how do you work together, and how is the collaboration kind of bore fruit for Endeavor 3D over the last few years?
It's been a lot through, again, the newer materials or the acquisitions of the equipment. But it's also for them when they find a good application and they need a good business partner to rely to send people to. We're one of the people that they send.
Mm,
We have, of course, today in today's world, where people in Europe are looking to find manufacturers in the US. And in some cases, they have high volume. So they want to put machines at a place where they know that HP has vetted and has a good relationship with. And that's Endeavor. And that's where, HP can refer us to clients and be confident that we're going to deliver the products that the customer's request.
mhm. And in the last couple of years, Endeavor has also adopted, as you mentioned, the Materialise COAM platform. What was the motivation, I guess, behind partnering Materialise there and deploying COAM?
Yeah, we started with Materialise because we were looking for a good MES system, something that would help, work with our workflow. We were using a lot of manual, just home built systems prior to that, but we wanted a platform that would really help us get to that next level of production.
Hmm.
And it has done that. And what's been nice too is as our business changes, as startup businesses do, they've been able to adapt and do what we need to do to continue that process.
And in terms of going up to that next level, what did your the Endeavor 3D output and offering look like before CoAM, and what does it look like now? What kind of impact has integrating that piece of technology had on Endeavor 3D and its offering?
In the beginning, when we first started into some of these complex jobs, where we've talked about patient specific or
Mm,
different shipping schedules or shipping methods, what COAM has done is kept us given us the ability to track those through the whole process. So when you're working with patient specific, there is one part for every person. It's not like printing 100 of the same part. And keeping track of hundreds and hundreds of patient specific parts throughout a manufacturing cycle can be very difficult, especially as it's going through QC and different post processing steps. And so, what COAM does is gives us the visibility of those parts through the whole process. That would have been very difficult to do in the past.
mm,
And so that if there is a failure on a part, we can now dive back down into that part and get a lot of detail based on its print, its post processing, and even who touched it during the different processes. And so if we can see where all of these post-processing steps are failing, we can go back, and if it's a specific individual, we can go back and train that person. So it really has given us more visibility to our processes so that we can get to that higher volume. Otherwise, these processes would have taken way too much time to actually become effective.
Yeah, and I imagine that's particularly important for products that are patient specific, because I think one thing we maybe don't mention as a community, or don't consider as a community all that often when we're talking about additives potential in personalized and customized products, is that you then need 100% yield. if if a different
Yes.
if a part is different for every person, you can't have one of those parts not come out of the printer or the manufacturing process
Yes.
properly, right? So how important has that been to really deliver on those kind of personalized and customized products?
Yes, because if it's going to fail, it needs to fail quickly, correct? First of
Yeah.
all, you don't want the failures because, like you said, that's just having to print it twice. And so I do think it's very important to be able to catch things quickly and be able to respond back, because usually there's somebody on the other end of that patient specific device waiting for that to be delivered. And if
Mhm.
we can quickly identify and get that back into our production process, then that's a win for everyone.
Yeah. One of the other recent developments that I wanted to touch on was uh, Endeavour achieving ITAR status for its polymer and metal AM services. Can you touch on how significant that has been for the company?
Oh, it's been very significant, and what um, it has opened doors for us that wasn't there before. And a lot of times, someone just wants to make sure that you are following the principles of ITAR.
Mhm.
Not necessarily do they always require the high capacity of design, security, or anything of that nature, but it does require that you are paying attention. And so it's been very vital to us, and we'll continue to renew it.
Yeah. As we've discussed today, through partnerships with HP and Materialise, and the adoption of jet fusion and co-AM, Endeavour is obviously a champion of AM technology. It obviously believes in what the technology can do for not only your company but obviously all of your clients as well. Um, I wanted to kind of ask about the challenges or the room for improvement you see with AM. So what, if anything, would you like to see improve or get better when it comes to AM technology?
I think that with AM technology, we have to really focus on where our time matters. There are so many people out there who actually have jobs or a dream of a product that can be done in additive. It's a long haul. And those are projects that are difficult for a company like Endeavor to take on because they're very time consuming and most people don't get the idea of what development costs. Certainly, there's companies out there who understand what development costs, and those are people who are really out there trying to make the big application. But sometimes I think we get too lost in the weeds. We see these really sexy or cute little things that would be great to print, but that's not for MJF, and that's not for high volume production. And so we need to really understand that if we want to be manufacturers like we want to be, that you really want to focus on those jobs where your talents and what you've created is the right fit. So again, it's hard to say no to people, but there's a lot of other companies out there who are okay with taking on the small jobs and developments. So I think it's important for us to really focus on where we can see the future instead of chasing the I'll say the squirrels or the jobs that don't really bring us to where we want to be.
Yeah. And with that in mind, my final question, Janet, and thank you for taking the time today, is what's next for Endeavour 3D? You've talked about the core motivation of the company, and touched on the processes that it uses to get there. How do you see the company evolving moving forward?
I see Endeavor 3D finding its place in the high volume manufacturing. I see that very shortly we'll be focusing on build boxes and the build box type of cells rather than the part cells. I think that will always be somebody who can help bridge them into other technologies as well. But I do see that with the facility that we have here, the capability, the electricity availability, that I can see us being the manufacturer for other companies and other technologies. We're already being approached by people who would like to utilize our facility and our talents. So I think that that's our future.